Joining us on the broadcast is Major Mohommed Ali Shah, who's going to help us try and make sense of this new upgrade that has taken place along the LAC. Major Shah, thank you so much for speaking to NewsX. If I can just quickly begin by asking you, when we talk about upgradation, when we talk about drone technology, when we talk about unmanned vehicles, what is the first thing that comes to mind? How is this going to help the Indian forces on the ground? Because Major Shah, at the end of the day, it's all about our soldiers who are at the border, and it's all about aiding them and helping them in whatever way possible. So how are these drones then going to help our, personnel deployed on the border?
A very good question by you, Paridhi. See, it is very simple. The terrain on the Indo-Tibet border, on the line of actual control, it's very, very difficult. The entire 3,488 kilometer stretch. It's a very, very difficult terrain, and it is very, very difficult to actually on ground man it. And because we cannot keep our soldiers there physically in many such areas, it's called the line of actual control, which means it's only a perception. There is no line of control. There's no demarcated territory like the India and Pakistan border. That's line of control. That's why it's called line of control, and this is line of actual control. Now, in such a terrain, the Chinese army, they deploy a robotic army, they deploy technology, they do not keep their soldiers because it is very difficult. But whereas yet our soldiers brave it out and they man the borders over there. Now, when we have drones, it's like an aircraft from top keeping a vigil across the territory. But now the altitude is such in that area that aircraft, especially on the Chinese side especially, they cannot complete a full sortie because they have to only contain half payload of fuel in the tanks. As a result, the entire sortie is not complete. When we have artificial intelligence or when we have drones, it is a much prudent, a much wiser method for keeping vigil, for patrolling, for keeping an eye, for manning the borders without physically a soldier being there. So first, it helps our soldiers not be in that terrain, which is totally cut off in that difficult terrain, though our soldiers are well equipped and well trained, but it's only easier. Secondly, it is the altitude where the entire vision can be kept, like with a hawk's eye. You can go through and every minute detail can be captured by the drone, by the camera and the drone. Thirdly, there is no pilot, there is no human being manning it. So in case there's a fear, though we do not fear, but in case there is a danger of it being shot down, it is there is no loss to any human life either because of the terrain or the climate or maybe the enemy fire, which could happen once in a while sometimes. So yes, when we have taken drones on lease from Israel, we have taken drone, and drone is a technology. I look at Armenia and Georgia. Look at Pakistan is in fact using drones to drop in guns, drugs, narcotics, arms and ammunition because they cannot infiltrate any further. They know Indian army is there guarding the borders. So drones, in fact, on 2nd January 2020, it was the US forces had killed General Soleimani, in fact, who was the Iranian chief of the army staff in Iraq, in the capital of Iraq, in Baghdad, with the help of a drone. So that is how lethal, how effective a drone is. So now when we are using drone technology at the border, at the line of actual control, it is, I think, the most prudent and the best thing. And we have to keep on upgrading our technology, just like, for everyone to understand, we upgrade our cars, our laptops, our iPad, our phones. We upgrade our technology because technology gets redundant after a while. So it is very, very important to continue upgrading the technology so that it is keeping on track, keeping up with the times. Yes.
Major Shah, given China's activity near the LAC, along the LAC rather, do you think that, equipment such as the drones that have just been deployed, the unmanned drones, do you think that these were a long time coming because the Chinese continue to increase their activity and we need to have first-hand information? Do you think that these drones are then going to help us get that sort of first-hand information to know where and what the Chinese are doing and building?
Oh, most certainly, Paridhi. Yes, that's a very, very intelligent question by you. Yes, see, I'll equate it with another example. In the year 2003, when I was almost 20 years back, when I was deployed at the line of control Indo-Pak border, we had something called LOROS, that's long-range observation and recce surveillance equipment, which is made in Israel actually. So we could penetrate deep into the enemy territory and sitting on our screens in our post on the laptop, on the screen, we could see the activity, what's happening inside there,
Yes.
without having physically going there. Similarly, now at the line of actual control, Indo-Tibet border, Indo-China border over there, the entire line of actual control, we can, through drone, they have those very sensitive, very high-tech cameras on the drone, and we can monitor the movement because Chinese are not trusted at all. Their strategy is taking one step behind to pacify you, but then they will take two steps forward when no one's watching you. And their strategy is very simple: to win wars without fighting. That is what they want. They believe in. That's Sun Tzu's philosophy. So if they think they are smart, we are smarter. So if they think they can do that, we have deployed high-tech drones where we can actually monitor their movement. You know, just about 2 years back, a year and a half back, they went into Nepal in the Hamla district, which is 70 kilometers from Pithoda district, and they constructed schools, there was a bridge, and they did some construction, which Mr. KP Sharma Oli's government was in power in Nepal at that time, which he denied. And after he denied, the technology will not lie. But the technology showed through satellite imagery that such Chinese intrusion has taken place. It was a big embarrassment for KP Sharma Oli's government at that time because he had denied initially. But the technology captured it. So we will have this kind of a technology which will actually keep a hawk's eye on Chinese movement in fact.
Yes. Before we let you go, Major Shah, one last question. Given you've rightly mentioned what happened in Nepal, but let's not go too far from home. Even near the Arunachal border, if I'm not mistaken, there were some villages, some Chinese villages that had come up, if you remember. Given activities such as that, we only found out about those villages much later. Do you think that this technology is now going to help us take action in a much more swift manner, take action at the very beginning of, the start of such activities?
That's a very practical question by you. See, because as I explained, the line of actual control, it's a perception. It's the 3,488 kilometer stretch. There is no demarcated territory. So now, often we see Chinese patrols and Indian army patrols, they are meeting face to face and they are face off and they have been fist fights, right? Because there is no demarcated territory.
Thank you so much, Major Shah, for joining us on the broadcast and giving us your inputs.